And this guy doesn't understand it. I think most of the left does not understand this at all. And it's why they are losing their freaking minds, because this is all that there is. I don't know why. I mean, if it were me, if I really believed this is all that there is, I'd probably just sit on my couch and watch like old episodes of The Waltons or something. I don't think, but that's one thing you can do. Or because you just say, oh, well, it's all meaningless, whatever. This will be just kind of pleasant. I'll sit here, have a drink, have a cigar, watch good TV, and then die someday. But the alternative is you're so anxious, you're so shocked and horrified at the reality that you're staring into the abyss that you just go crazy. And that is what's happened with the left. I always try to reason with the left, try to engage with their arguments. But there's no argument in, that's not an argument. That's a childish temper tantrum. These protests, these violent riots that are going on, there's no arguing with that because there's no reason in it. There's no logic in it. It's just a threat. It's just an explosion of violence. And they continue even to this day. There was a protest, quote unquote, that took place in the middle of the night 2 nights ago outside of Senator Lindsey Graham's home. Take a listen to this peaceful, wonderful, subdued, reasonable protest. You see the cops show up, thankfully. And then there are these really nice, peaceful, orderly protesters trying to break onto his property. Some doughy, sort of millennial-looking fellow just gets pushed back by the cops. Cameras, lights, banging, noise. Those clappers, that noise that you're hearing there, that is the left's argument in these protests. The air horn and the banging, that is the argument. In a self-governing republic, speech is politics and politics is speech, meaning that when you can convey meaning through your words, through these sounds and symbols we emit from our mouths, and then someone else can hear that and have some idea of what you're talking about because you're referring to something in objective reality, that is speech. And the way we govern ourselves is we persuade our fellow citizens of things. And then ultimately, if we're persuasive enough, hopefully we win elections and then get to govern ourselves. That's at least how it's supposed to work. That is what freedom of speech is to protect. That is what the First Amendment is to protect. Freedom of speech, quote unquote, is not there to protect screaming and clapping and yelling and blowing air horns outside of a senator's home at night. That's not speech. The and the woo and these kind of animalistic, bestial sounds that these people are making outside of Lindsey Graham's home, that's not speech. Speech has to have meaning to it. It has to have substance. Animals who grunt and scream like these Democrats do not have speech. That isn't speech. That's sound. That's noise. And that's what we're getting. We're getting a whole lot of noise. And we're getting a whole lot of noise because this is ultimately a religious expression for eternal questions that politics is certainly not fit to solve or can only touch around the surface of. This is the protest now is part of the liturgy of liberalism. Anytime there's a police shooting, for instance, even if it's a completely justified police shooting, 100% justified, it doesn't matter. That's the signal then to go out and do this liturgy, like the church bells in medieval Europe. The kneeling down and disrespecting the flag, that's part of the liturgy of secular liberalism as well. What did Lindsey Graham do? Did Lindsey Graham do anything? No. But they just show up and they start screaming because that's their version of church. Because I bet none of those people go to church on Sunday and they feel like they need some community and they feel like they need some meaning in their life. And so instead of going and getting salvation and being in fellowship with the mystical body of Christ and ensuring your own salvation, what do? They go yell and scream in the middle of the night like a bunch of banshees and idiots. But that's what that is. I hope you enjoyed that short segment from the Michael Knowles Show. Be sure to check out the full episode linked in the description or download the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.